Well, thank you, Ron. And he was talking about the rubber meeting the road. Well, that's very appropriate because we're talking about rubber meeting the road with Gary Elliott. I need to welcome Gary back. It was only 20 years ago last time I interviewed you, Gary. How come you're looking so young? I mean, I'm aging, and you're looking as good as you did 20 years ago.
I think there's something about being in a race car for 20 years maybe that helps you stay young. I don't know.
Well, you sure have to feel young. I mean, I don't think people realize what a physical workout a race is. I mean, you've got to be in shape, right?
Yes, you do. And the heat inside the race cars, the adrenaline that you create, the energy that you need to race and be competitive. Just watching yesterday's NASCAR race, they were saying that some of those drivers were going to drop off physically because they had such a long run without a yellow flag. And the yellow flag sometimes can give you a rest. Even in our races, they're only short, but still, you need to be in physical.
And dehydration's got to be a factor, right? Although now they have this little tube they can drink from while they're racing. Is that right?
Yeah, I have a water bottle that you would have on a bike, and I have a plastic tube that I can drink, but I usually only do that under yellow. So if there's no yellow flag, then I go the 35 or 50 laps without a drink. But you don't really need it in 30 laps. But if it's July and August and inside the race car is 135 degrees, you'd like to have a drink of water.
Unreal. You know, for those of you who haven't met Gary before, I've got a little fact sheet here, and it's very impressive. You've been racing for 43 years?
Yeah, this year was my 44th.
So you started as a very young boy.
Yeah, I can't tell you how old I am, but
and you're one of Canada's longest running stock car drivers. You've had a relationship with Quaker State now for 39 years, which I think is a bit of a record, isn't it?
Well, we haven't really researched yet to see if it's a world record, but the last driver that had a long tenure with any sponsor was Kenny Bernstein, a drag racer, NHRA, and his was 33 years.
Wow. You've averaged 25 race nights a season. I mean, that's amazing. 35 seasons of perfect attendance. 7 years president of the Ontario Amateur Racing Club. You've had over 2,000 races, over 200 wins, 2 championships, 25 top 5 finishes, 2 times mid-season championship, 9 times best appearing car, 6 times most popular driver. How does that happen? You voted most popular driver by the other drivers?
No, by the fans.
Oh, by the fans.
Yeah.
By the and how do they decide who they like? I mean, is it because they like the way you drive, or they like the way you give an interview? I mean, how do they form an attachment with a driver?
Well, fans have many ways to like drivers. They'll like them because they like the look of their car. They like them because they've met them and they've talked to them and they got an autograph from them. They like them because of the way they race. They like them because they win a lot, or they like them because they don't wreck a lot of people. So if you're a good, clean driver, you can have a lot of fans, but your fans still want to see you be competitive and, and have an opportunity to win.
I was really impressed with the attachment fans have to specific drivers when I was at the Coca-Cola 600 a few years ago in Concord, North Carolina. They're sitting in blocks wearing the hats and the paraphernalia that identified them with their driver. And it was funny, many times I'd hear people meeting one another, and instead of saying, "Hi, I'm Jim Canlon," "Hi, I'm a Dale Earnhardt. Who are you?" In other words, their identity was with the driver. I mean, that's got to be unique in sport, I think.
Marketing in NASCAR is probably the best. I would say it's probably bigger than the National Football League. I'm sure it is, but you go to any NASCAR race, there's tractor trailers with thousands of T-shirts and hats and die-cast cars, and people buy them and they support their favorite driver, and that is just great.
Now, there's so much I want to ask you, because I'm a real race car fan. You've done both open wheel and, do you call it closed wheel? What do you call the stock cars?
Well, a full-body car.
Full-body cars. You've done both. Which is the more dangerous in your view?
Well, the open wheel racer car has an opportunity more to get over somebody's wheels.
Yeah.
So that's one disadvantage with them. But also, there's a lot better viewing. I can see more of what's going on in my little coupe. When I'm driving an open wheel car, I can see everything a lot clearer. In a full-bodied car, you're protected more, but then the driving style in both of those cars are different. You usually don't go over anybody's wheel when you're driving the late model full-bodied car, but you also have to be able to judge better. The styles of driving are different too. I'm way more aggressive in the open wheel car On the other car, I have to be smooth.
Really?
Yeah, you have to drive smooth. You have to drive it. You can't be too aggressive because you get on the gas too soon, you upset the car, and the car won't corner as good coming off or going in. So you just have to be smooth. The other car, you can wheel it. You get on top of the wheel and you drive it pretty hard.
Now, when Juan Montoya slammed into that track cleaner a couple weeks ago.
Jet dryer.
Jet dryer, yeah. That must have been some kind of a mechanical failure that caused him to swerve, right?
Absolutely. The back end of his car, he had a problem with that earlier, and he went into the pits, and his crew jacked up the car to check and see what was wrong with it. They couldn't really find anything, but he was complaining about a vibration. It was under yellow at the time, so when he left the pit, that's a 2.5 mile track, so the cars were quite a ways ahead of him, so he had a chance to build up some speed on the back straightaway. And going down the back straightaway, the trailing arm on his car broke, which would cause the rear end of the car to twist, and the car would go out of control. And it's incredible that that would happen, and he would slide. I mean, he could have missed. The odds of him hitting that, to do that again, would be insane. But he slammed right into the back end of the jet dryer, and it was holding a 200-gallon jet fuel tank. And of course that caught fire, and lucky that nobody was hurt.
Yeah, really, that was amazing. It's got to be one of the most, if not the most outstanding, spectacular crashes in the history of racing. I mean, I'm sure that will be in replay reels for decades to come. I also noticed in the first lap of the Daytona 500, when there was that big wreck, the inside car camera of Jimmy Johnson's car, as he was hitting the wall, he took his hands off the wheel. And he said he'd learned that from Danica Patrick. And I was surprised because I thought that everybody took their hands off the wheel when they were about to hit the wall. Is this something most guys don't do?
No, you know what? In the open wheel car, I definitely have to take my hands off the wheel because the steering is so quick. And if you have your hands on the steering wheel, the problem is the steering wheel will, as soon as the wheels hit, it turns it to the right or left. Well, that steering wheel will turn probably 20 times. Whoa. So it could bust your thumb, break your hand, break your wrist. And on a late model, it's no different. If you hit the wall, it's the same thing in his car and the NASCAR. So they take the hand off the wheel just so it won't break their wrist.
What about taking your feet off the pedals so you don't break your legs?
Usually you have it on the brake pedal.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not going to take your foot off the brake pedal. You'll take it off the gas, but you've got the brake pedal jammed, hoping that you can reduce the speed when you hit the wall.
And then another thing that interests a lot of fans is how close the steering wheel is to the driver. I mean, it's right here. You don't drive a car out in the street that way. What is it? You have more control when it's that close? It's
because if you have your arms extended, the main thing is you're going to tire yourself a lot faster. So pulling it closer to you is not as much work, so your leverage is better. I personally like it a little bit longer because I like the idea of being on top of my car. I don't like relaxing too much in my race car. I like my seat to be relaxing, but the steering wheel, I want it it's important where that steering wheel is.
I mean, you look at the drivers in the cars, and it's almost like they're in an easy chair. They're sitting back, steering wheel's right here. You don't shoulder check, right? You got a mirror there. You don't spend any time doing this.
No, and now in the last 5 or 6 years, maybe longer, we've been running what they call a Hans device, a safety device,
right.
And that your helmet is attached to that so that your head can't go forward. So now you're really restricted to your movement. And what we rely on is a spotter. So, and I can't move at all.
Right.
And when we're racing, we don't see anybody and same as NASCAR, we don't see people, we can't see them. And our spotter will say clear high, clear low. He'll say things like that, just so you know that if you're going to try to pass somebody, he'll let you know it's clear.
So your safety in many ways is in the hands of that spotter.
Yeah, absolutely.
And spotters sometimes blow it, right?
Oh yeah, sometimes he'll say clear high, so you'll go up, but the guy is there and he'll turn you right into the wall.
Huh.
And then you'll say, did you mean don't go high?
Too late.